I figured I'd show you this. What you're looking at here is a natural hybridization of the Everglade tomato and the yellow pear tomato. And sometimes what happens is tomatoes cross because of the bugs out here, and you will get some types of hybridization. So this tomato right here is really a cross between the yellow pear tomato and the Everglade tomato, and that's what it produced, which you can see is quite different from all the other tomatoes. It's actually coming off the yellow pear vine, so you can see it's quite different. If I could just get in here without damaging anything. I think this one's dead, right? You can see it's quite a different tomato. It's actually very orange in color. It's about the size of a, oh, I don't know. It's pretty big, twice the size of a yellow pear tomato. 3 or 4 times, 5 times, 6 times the size of a Everglade tomato. And so I will separate this out. I'm probably not going to eat it. I might eat the rind to taste it, but I'm going to be separating these seeds and see if I can reproduce this same tomato next year, or even this year before the year ends, just to see if it sprout grows and gives me something. But yeah, this is strange. It actually naturally hybridized in the garden, and that doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. Tomatoes have out of all the plants to hybridize, tomatoes are probably some of the easiest to do. It does it naturally in the wild. Tomatoes will naturally hybridize. That's why you have all these species of tomatoes that you see. They weren't always like that, guys. Tomatoes were originally discovered or whatever, used by the Aztecs way back then, and then from there it spread all over the world, and now you have all these varieties you have because of that reason. It's a very interesting way to propagate itself through its taste. It knew it's not sentient, but it did know by the flavor contrast that it has that the human would enjoy it so much that it would be spread because of human more than an animal like a bird, or it's just really strange. So it hybridizes. So this is a natural hybridized tomato, and in fact I have some more tomatoes here that are hybridized. Let's see here. Yeah, you can see there's some down there hybridized right there. Here's some more of the Everglade tomato that hybridized into a different form. They don't look anything like the normal Everglade tomato. It looks almost like a cherry tomato that's orange, different. There's a few more down there. Here's another hybridized tomato right down there. So yeah, you will get hybridized tomatoes when you grow 2 or 3 varieties wild in a patch in a field. So it's a good way to hybridize tomatoes, to come up with something that you don't necessarily plan on. Let me get out of there. You don't necessarily plan on. So in other words, when people are crossing tomatoes, they will specifically isolate that strain, and they will put the flowers together and then seal up the flower with aluminum foil or a bag, and then make sure it doesn't get any other cross strains, and then they go to stage 2 and F3, and they stabilize it, and eventually it becomes a hybrid, and they name it, and then it runs for 80 years, and then eventually it becomes an heirloom. But if you're interested in hybridizing tomatoes under a natural circumstance, just take a large field or large area, the larger the better, and put about 3 varieties in there, and really mix the seeds up when you create that variety. So if you're going to do the Everglade tomato, the cherry, like I did with I didn't do this, it happened naturally, but you could take that and then maybe get another variety of tomato that has a different, very unique feature to it, and then you let them grow wild in the field, and then the bugs will actually cross-pollinate them. And there's a name for that when bugs pollinate your, not when bees pollinate your flowers, but bugs themselves. There's a name for that, and I can't think of the name, guys. But you let them do the work, and they will naturally hybridize your tomato, and those tomatoes eventually become an heirloom. In 80 years of time, people start growing those tomatoes on a regular basis. They will like that tomato. It'll become known in that area, and it becomes prolific in that area because its genetics are all recorded into its climatization process as the seeds. It's just like human beings. If human beings marry their brothers and sisters and cousins, and they keep doing that, eventually what happens is you start getting genetic deformities and things like that. Human beings have to cross their genetics with other races and other genetics and things like that. You can't marry your sisters and brothers and everything like that, though they do. And you see the results of inbreeding, what the results can be of that. And it is a known fact that that's not just something I'm saying because I'm just picking on people that engage in that activity. I am saying that because it's a known fact. They end up with all kinds of immunity problems and diseases, and it's very much the same thing with plants. And it's very good to cross your tomatoes. Sometimes you get better strains to adapt to your environment. You can't go around naming it, oh, it's an heirloom, it's an heirloom, I got an heirloom. You don't do that. But what I would suggest that you do, if you're really interested in hybridizing tomatoes, take like 2 or 3 varieties and just grow them in a patch and let them hybridize naturally. They will pick themselves their own genetics and create their own genetics the way they feel it's best for them to grow in their environment. It's not always best for us to take this tomato and cross it with that one and make that happen. Sometimes it's best for the plants to decide what's best for their genetics in your area. They will do really, really good on their own. So yeah, that's hybridized tomato. Give it a try. We'll save seeds from this, guys, and we will grow this out next year, and we'll see what we get out of it. Hopefully we can get a consistent batch of the same thing. And I got a couple more there I'm going to save, and I'm going to mark those and label them F1, and we'll go from there, guys. We'll see if we can actually get a hybridized version out of these tomatoes. And just keep in mind too that the Everglade tomato is a wild tomato. It's generally it's what you would want to use as one of your crosses in your tomatoes. So if I was going to cross a, I don't know, purple Cherokee with a green German tomato, I would also want to include the genetics of a wild tomato, because the wild tomatoes have that a feature that I like in their growing pattern. Very aggressive. They grow in many conditions. They high heat. They can tolerate a lot of things, and by getting the pollen from all 3 of them into one tomato is a very desirable effect that you would want to try to get. Now, you don't have to cross a tomato with, say, 1 or 2 tomatoes. You can put 3 or 4 genetics into one tomato by introducing the pollen and things like that into those tomatoes. But this is just an example of how hybridization happens naturally in the environment, okay? And how tomatoes can actually hybridize into their, whatever it is they want for their environment. All right, so let me just give you a quick shot of my 15-foot tall sunflower, and yeah, maybe I'll do a quick vid on this. I don't know. I got 100 videos I got to upload, so, and I'm doing a shout out video for you guys, so you're gonna want to stick around for that one. But yeah, that's a like 15 or 20 feet maybe foot tall sunflower growing in my wonderful garden. I will see you on the next one.